Hi, my name is Hisham. I'm a faculty of construction management at Santa Clara University, and I'm presenting this paper on behalf also on Aishwarya Mali, my research assistant, on market share metrics and data analysis of the U.S. union electrical construction industry. Workers had the right to unionize by the National Labor Agreement Act of 1935, signed by President Roosevelt. And that the promise of unions is to improve the life quality and work conditions of workers. But generally, unions have experienced a decline in their membership and what they also call market share. For construction, it's kind of similar to what's happening in manufacturing, but it's a little better than manufacturing industry. Most of the previous research focused on qualitative comparisons of union versus open shop in terms of productivity, cost, and work conditions. But few research was able to do quantitative analysis of the dynamics of unionized construction industry. And that's because of the lack of metrics that will be able to quantify market share at the level, a sufficient level of detail for unionized construction. So fewer researchers kind of were able to qualitatively analyze such dynamics. But here in this research, to be able first to do quantitative analysis of union construction industry, we need to have metrics to be able to do that. And that study here that I'm presenting is doing comparative analysis of available metrics. And we're focusing here on electrical construction industry due to the availability of data we had. And also based on the data and the metrics we collected, we're proposing a new metric, which is focusing on the trend, not the absolute market share of the construction union segment. So the first metric that we analyze is called CLRC ICT data, and it's published by the Construction Labor Research Council, which is a private entity that provides research studies to trade organizations. And they publish the data that they have in the Inside Construction Trend report. And this report provides three types of market share metrics: the employee share, wage, and employer share. And it's basically the ratio between, for example, the employee share, the ratio between the number of electricians that are members of the unions to the number of productive electricians in the industry. And similar approach can be applied on the wage share and employer share. And they collect data from different sources, from the NABF, which is the National kind of Benefits Fund for Electricians, and from NECA, the National Electrical Contractors Association, the Association of Signatory Contractors. And on the other side, they collect data from federal sources like the Bureau of Census and Bureau of Labor Statistics. The second metric here is the NLMCC data. And LMCC data here, the National Labor Management Corporation Committee, is an entity that was established by both NECA and IBEW, the management and the worker side of the unionized electrical construction. And LMCC have two market share metrics: employee share and wage share. And LMCC uses the same data of CLRC, but with some adjustments here. So for details, please refer to the paper. But these adjustments result in making the LMCC data and metric more conservative. So you will see here that they provide less magnitude of market share than the CLRC. The third metric here is the COMET data that was developed and have been used for a while by IBEW, but then the IBEW stopped using it after they agreed on using the NLMCC with NECA. But it's very rough approximation because it depends on a ratio here, R, that says how many electricians per every 1,000 of population in an area. And they use that to compare the number of electricians in an area that are unionized versus total number of electricians from the U.S. Census Bureau. So it's very rough representation of market share. The fourth metric here is called economic or sales market share metric. And it's developed by Dr. Danish Gari in 2005. And the idea here is that they're depending on some strong correlation that they found between the electrical generation and distribution and the electrical construction industry volume. So they found very strong kind of correlation between these, and they use that correlation now to use the energy published data to kind of calculate the volume of the electrical construction industry in an area. So that figure here shows the procedure that they used. Of course, it's kind of proprietary metric, so they do not share all the details of it. But in this reference, they published the procedure, but not all the data that they can calculate. So they depend on the national construction put in place data from the Bureau of Census, and the energy data from the EIA, the Energy Information Administration. And they calculate the cost of construction in the three main segments: residential, industrial, and commercial. And then they detail it more to the electrical construction volume, and then they detail it by state, and they detail it by county. And then for every local jurisdiction that's covering the multiple counties, they sum up these, so to find the local construction volume in this jurisdiction of the local. And then a NECA chapter or electrical contractor will be able to calculate their economic market share. So it's very kind of elaborate method to calculate the market share or market volume that then an individual contractor or chapter of NECA can use it. So in summary here, that's kind of comparison between the four metrics that we analyzed in terms of these different attributes. Green means like it's good news, it's actually good performance in this criteria. Orange is kind of the middle, and red is low scoring or performance in terms of the criteria we have. And you can see here that NLMCC is a metric that provides mutually accepted way of quantifying market share, which is it's very critical to have that mutual acceptance from the management side and the labor side, because that can help in using this data to in the negotiation of the bargaining agreements. So it's mutually accepted by both NECA and IBW, and it's also self-contained, so you don't have to go outside and collect further and more data for it to use it. And also it's readily available, it's published by NECA and IBW, and it's also detailed well enough to the local level or the local unions. So this is why kind of we ended up with concluding that NLMCC data or market share is a good market share metric to use. Now we move that a little further step by saying that we don't want to have an absolute metric to use for analysis. We want to actually use a trend metric. And that's why we use here derivative-based mathematical algorithm to kind of parse through the NLMCC data and kind of for every local classify the market share trend by either positive or negative, and within that by either growing or rebounding or up, down, or shrinking. So, and that's an example of some of the unions, local unions that we kind of generated the market share trend classification for them. So with that, I would like to acknowledge the financial support that we got from Electric International Foundation, and also the data collection support we got from NECA and IBW. Thanks for watching, and I'm looking forward to help you with any questions about this study. Please look for my webpage on Santa Clara University, and I'll be happy to answer your questions by email. Thanks so much.